In this video, I'd like to review some of the practice problems that I assigned yesterday in class. So we're going to get started by looking at the 7-1 application problems. In it, I asked you to work on numbers 2, 5, 6, 8, and 9, as well as 11 and 17 through 19. So let's take a quick look at a few of these. I don't think anybody had any trouble with problem number 2. Determine the tax for each of the filing status and taxable income amount. So using the table that we have here, if somebody is going to file as single and they made $57,723, then their income falls right in between these two values here. And as a person, we see that they owe $10,775 in taxes. For someone who's head of household and makes exactly $60,950, while that number appears twice here, recall that we always use the upper amount here because we're making at least $60,950. As a head of household, this person would have to pay $10,306 in taxes. For someone who is married and filing jointly, this is actually the combination of two incomes, then their their income falls in between these two numbers, and the taxes for married filing jointly ends up being this value here, $8,794 in taxes owed. And finally, $57,521 earned by somebody who's married but filing separately. That falls in this category here, $57,521. So married filing separately puts them in this category, $10,725 in taxes owed. Moving on, number 5, if somebody who is filing as head of household pays $9,406 in taxes, we should be able to find out about how much money they made last year. So right here we see in the head of household column somebody who is paying $9,406 in taxes. That means that their income was between $57,350 and $57,400. So between $57,350 and $57,400 in income. Similarly, somebody who's single that pays $12,275 in taxes, they fall in this category here. So somebody who's single that pays $12,275 in taxes earned between $63,700. So between $63,700 and $63,750. So this is what we mean by identifying a taxable income interval. We're giving a range of numbers that we can fall in between. So I'm not going to finish the others. I think you could work through them having seen these two examples. In example 6, we again see some practice calculating the taxes owed by using a tax schedule. I'm just going to pick one of these to work through, and you can use it as a guide. Let's say I work through part D here. Somebody who's filing as head of household and earns $201,102. Well, that's somebody that falls in this row of data right here. They've earned over $182,000, but they've earned less than $357,000. So at the very least, they owe $42,000 in taxes. That's $42,755. And in addition to that, they owe 33% of any amount over $182,400. So we can calculate that by subtracting what they actually made, $201,102, minus the threshold level here, $182,400. Using my calculator off screen, I see that the difference between what this person earned and that threshold, let me get this jotted down here, is $18,702. So even though this couple or this person falls underneath what we call the 33% tax bracket, they're technically only paying 33% taxes on $18,000, not all of their income. So when we multiply the 18,702 times 33%, we end up owing $6,171.66, and to that we will add the minimum tax of $42,755 for a grand total of $48,926.66 in taxes owed by someone who files as head of household that made $201,102 last year. By the way, their effective tax rate, if you recall, effective tax rate would be equal to the amount that they've paid in taxes, the $48,926.66, divided by how much money they actually earned last year, $201,102. That ends up coming out to be about 0.2433. So their effective tax rate is actually 24%, or about 24%, not actually the 33%. You're going to use this effective tax rate procedure, this last step, when completing number 9. So I'm actually not going to walk through that example in this video, but that's exactly what they're asking in number 9, is what the effective tax rate is. But before I move on to the next group of questions, I do want to talk about number 8. Number 8 is kind of an interesting thing. We recognize that Rich has to pay $25,000 in taxes, so our job is to work backwards and find his taxable income. Well, what's kind of interesting about this is that the last problem, number 6D, could actually be rewritten in a nice compact form here. We found that this calculation ended up being equal to $48,926.66. So if I use this line right here as a template or as a guide, I can fill in some pieces that I know from problem 8 and then use that to solve for Rich's taxable income. So here's what I see. I know that he ended up paying $25,000 in taxes. So on the far right hand side, we're going to write $25,000. Now, for somebody that paid $25,000 in taxes, if we look at this schedule over here, chances are the $25,000 in taxes came from this line of information. The minimum amount of taxes that were paid were $23,225, and to that we had to add 28% of the amount that was earned over this number. So I think, again, by seeing that we're paying $25,000 in taxes, it's a pretty good indicator that we're working out of this row. Under that assumption, I'm going to say that the minimum tax of $23,225 added with 28% of the amount that was earned over $112,650, this gives me an expression that I can work through and solve for x. X will be the amount of money that was earned by Rich last year. So if I subtract 23,225 from both sides of the equation, I'm left with 0.28 times x minus 112,650, and all of that's equal to 1,700 75. At this point, I can divide both sides of the equation by 0.28. Divide by 0.28, and that will leave me with x minus 112,650 is equal to $6,339. We need to round this, so I'll call this 29 cents. And to that, we will add $112,650. 112,650. And that leaves us with X, which is our income for last year, equal to $118,989.29. So a bit of an unusual question, but we can also work backwards through these, as I've just demonstrated here to help answer question number 8. Question number 11 is just like number 6 in that we're calculating the amount of tax that's owed for somebody who's filing as head of household, only this time we're using the worksheet rather than the schedule itself. So some students find using this schedule a bit tricky because it almost seems like we have to work backwards. It's almost like we start from the right-hand side and work back to the left. However, if you have a tax booklet that contains this worksheet, then you can use it to help you with your math. So I'm going to complete part C here, since this is the same income from before, and you can see how easy it is to use this worksheet. This person earns over $182,400, but less than $357,700. So I'm going to write the $201,102 in this empty space. Now, had this person had to pay 33% on all of that money, we would multiply 201,102 times 0.33, and that ends up equaling $66,363.66. But as we discussed in the last problem, we realized that we're not paying 33% on all of this money that was income. It was only on a portion above a particular threshold. And so the way we account for that is by subtracting. The instructions tell us to subtract an amount, and we'll subtract 17,437 from this number. And this leaves us with $48,926.66. And if we compare that to our answer back here for part C, well, what do you know? 48,926.66. The two match, as they should. So go ahead and use this worksheet to finish number 11 as well, and decide which one you like working with better, either the schedule information here or the worksheet that's given to us here. For the last set of problems I'd like to look at, we're going to jump down to number 17, 18, and 19. So someone that makes $27,000 in terms of income in the United States is not at the top end of the spectrum. $27,811 is an income amount that typically falls underneath our tax table. So if this person's going to file as head of household with that income, I see that 27,811 falls in between these two numbers. So when filing as head of household, we see that this person would owe $3,601 in taxes. Now, instead of using the tax table as we've done here, as quick and easy as that was, suppose somebody wanted to use Schedule Z from practice problem number 6 to determine their taxes. Let's see how much that would come out to be. So again, Schedule Z is this one up here. So somebody that makes the $27,000 is falling in this category. So at a minimum, this person owes $1,145 in taxes plus 15% of any number over $11,450. So with our work down here, let's go ahead and set that up. And I'll try to squeeze that in this row here. We know that the minimum tax is $1,145 plus 15%. of any amount that's earned, so 27,811, any amount that was earned over $11,450. Now, if I use my calculator off screen, I find that this value comes out to be equal to $3,599.15. And if we compare this calculation, right, in both cases, we're talking about somebody that earns exactly $27,811. In one case, $3,601 was owed in taxes, but in the other, $3,599.15 was owed in taxes. So there is a small difference between 17 and 18, but the amount of difference isn't all that much. It does favor the taxpayer in the Schedule Z example, however. The tax code is written so that these calculations should come out to be roughly the same value, and here a difference of just under $2 is really negligible. So the two calculations are almost exactly the same, but again, just a slight advantage to somebody that used Schedule Z to compute their tax. I'm going to stop the video here and take a look at some of the practice problems from the worksheet in another video. Thanks for watching.